What is going on, everyone? Thank you all so much for tuning back in. It really means a lot to me, and let's jump right into another little recap here. So, definitely a very, very interesting day for the NASDAQ, right? As you guys can see just from looking at my chart here, since right around 5:30 in the morning, the market got absolutely obliterated. It was just a bloodbath today. It really was just falling very aggressively. Overall, keeping a bearish pattern on the day and forming these lower lows and lower highs pretty much throughout the whole entire day. And if you look at the inverse ETF SQQQ, right? I always show you guys you can always make money when the market sells off still. You just need to trade the inverse ETFs that act in direct opposite of it, right? So with the Nasdaq falling so aggressively today, as you guys can see, SQQQ, the inverse, it soared today. It had an amazing day. It was up almost 20% from the highs of the day, right around market close, from right around 5:30 in the morning when the CPI data report came out, which I'm going to talk about briefly. But yeah, just congrats to anyone that was in SUs today or was holding. Definitely was the call today, obviously, just from looking at it. And so yeah, I do want to talk about why did the market sell off today? A lot of you new traders might have not seen anything like this coming, and the reason for that was because an hour before the market opened at 5:30 in the morning, the Federal Reserve released a CPI data report, and in that report, they always include inflation rates, right? Which always have a large sentiment as to how the market is going to act. And today was definitely surprising for a lot of people because the report did come out positive, the overall CPI report. Last time the report was at 8.5% and today it came out at 8.3%. So, with the lower number, right, with the lower rate, a lot of people might be wondering if the report came out good, why on earth did the Nasdaq still sell off so aggressively today, right? And before I tell you why, I just want to preface this and say shout out to Ricky Gutierrez. He's a trader I watch on YouTube, and he actually made a video detailing why the CPI report influenced the Nasdaq today in a negative way. And yeah, I just definitely wanted to give him a shout out before I said it. So the reason why, even though it dropped from 8.5 last time to 8.3 today, why the market sold off so aggressively is because you need to pay attention to the core CPI data report. And the core CPI data report, it has everything basically except it excludes food and energy. And the reason for that is because the Federal Reserve cannot have a big influence or a direct influence in swaying the those types of sectors, right, for food and energy, which is why they also released overall just general CPI data report, which did come out positive today, like I told you guys. But if you focus on the core CPI data, the report was actually in the red today, or basically it wasn't in its favor. Today, the report actually shot up to over 6% for the core CPI, whereas the past two times it has been right around 5.9%, if I'm not mistaken. So with it shooting up to over 6%, obviously the Federal Reserve is definitely probably going to be looking to still raise inflation rates because they need to try and do something about the core CPI, right? They need to try and tackle it and bring the numbers down. So a lot of people saw that even though, obviously, like I just said, the overall CPI data report came out positive, it did have a reduction. The core CPI was what increased and led to this whole sell-off because there is still a lot of uncertainty as to if the Federal Reserve is going to lower inflation rates, right? It doesn't look like that's going to happen because the core CPI data report came out higher. So I just want to make you guys aware of that. And that is the reason why there was this large sell-off today. So I just want to go ahead and talk about how I did today trading. And as you guys can tell from the thumbnail, it was a green day for me, day trading. As you guys can see, we're red on the day, but it's because of Tesla. It's our swing, so we don't focus on that. I was up $45 and a change today between TQs and SQs. And I want to go ahead and share with you guys kind of my thought process today and why I did come out on top and what I could have done better. So I didn't wake up till around 6:30 in the morning, which is when the market opens. That's always when I look to start hopping on. And right after I saw that this report leading into the pre-market, or during the pre-market leading into the market open, sorry, I obviously saw from this huge red bar that the market sentiment was looking like it was going to be a little more bearish, right? Because it has just, the CPI data report came out, it didn't look good. And on top of that, huge selling pressure, right? Huge red candles and just an enormous drop right after the report was released. And right after that, even leading into the pre-market still, leading into the market open, sorry, during pre-market, right around here, leading into 6:30 in the morning, it still was downtrending, right? It was trending below this blue EMA line, and it was no shocker then that I would look to focus today for kind of plays going down, right? Just like yesterday, I was able to see that during the pre-market, the Nasdaq was looking signs like it wanted an uptrend, right? If I can just pull up the 5-day 5-minute, right? Before the CPI data report, the market has been having a little bullish spree, right? It's been a few days where it has been consistently trending up, and today was no different. I wanted to look at the pre-market to see kind of which direction the Nasdaq could have been headed. And to me, obviously, there was a very clear direction today with this huge sell-off. So I did make around $25 on TQs and 20 on SQ, so basically split even in terms of trying to basically take plays where I saw opportunity. So right around 6:30 in the morning, I saw that the NQ pushed above this EMA line but struggled and ultimately got rejected. So I decided to take a play um, into SQs, right? Right when market opened up right here at 6:30 in the morning. And I actually sold on this nice little red drop here, this big red candle. I sold and I was actually up like $30 just off of my quarter of a position size with $2,500. I didn't average up or anything. The reason why I sold is because it did push down very aggressively. I thought there might be some type of support to try to find before it did keep falling. But basically, yeah, I was able to sell for a nice little profit after it pushed big. And right after that, the market, as you guys can see, was selling off, but it was kind of taking its time, right? Right around these areas. It wasn't aggressively falling. It was kind of taking its time. And with these little support levels to try to find, I also took a play on TQs because I saw potential for it to kind of bounce and have a little play towards close to this SMA line here. Because it wasn't falling anymore, and on top of that, it looked, while I was trading it live, like it did want to have these little pops, right? It would take kind of a few minutes for it to fall, only for it to just kind of spring back up in like basically like 10 seconds or something like that, right? With a nice green candle. So I did my part in looking for those opportunities, and unfortunately, I had to go to work this morning, so I could only trade up to like around 8:30, and by then, right around here, the market was starting to slow down a bit, but obviously still ended up having a nice play as the day played out. It kept being very bearish, and even just looking at it on the bigger time frames, it made sense to me as to why there could still be a large continuation in SQ's position, right? Or basically being bearish for the Nasdaq. And the reason for that was because when you look at it in the bigger time frames, while I did have this large sell-off, I was still keeping in the back of my mind that there could be a potential kind of bounce right around this area, right? Because it has previously done that before. But when I saw that it fell below this SMA line, it basically had no type of resistance whatsoever. It just fell right below it. I saw potential for it to now break this pattern it had of trying to trend above the SMA line and start being very bearish, right? Selling off aggressively. You can look at it on any time frame. That was a 10-day, 30-minute. This is a 5-day, 5-minute, right? As you guys can see, it did not look good for it anymore once it started trending below these lines here. This SMA line, this middle VWAP, bottom VWAP, right? It didn't look good at all, especially also once it trended below this blue EMA line. It was using that as a resistance the whole time. So every time it would fall hard, it would try and push up, but right around the blue EMA line, when it approached it, it would just keep falling, get rejected here briefly, pushed above, but ultimately sold off still aggressively. So definitely there was a lot of money that could have been made today. Congrats to anyone, like I just said, that was in SQs today and was able to take part of it. But I just want to go ahead and share with you guys kind of basically just talking about the CPI report. A lot of you may have not even known why the market sold off so aggressively. And also, I just wanted you guys to learn, like I did today, something interesting as to even though the overall CPI data report can come out looking like it's very favorable for the market, it can still drop tremendously, right? You need to pay attention to more details in it, like that core CPI data that was released. So yeah, basically, I didn't want to just focus on SUs today because I did see the direction was headed that way, but I did end up making also some money on TQs because of these little supports to try to find, right? These little springs to try to have, and yeah, I just did my part to kind of sell out because when I got to TQs and averaged up, I knew there was no way it was gonna have this kind of huge recovery based on how bearish it was and these patterns it was trying to follow, right? It'd be very naive for me to think buying and average up thinking it's gonna shoot up to new highs, right? Especially not after a report just came out and looking like it was gonna have a negative sentiment towards the overall market, right? So I hope you guys learned something and enjoyed the video today. That's just it. That's what I'm gonna leave you at. Thank you all so much for tuning back in. It really means a lot to me, and I'll see you guys all for the rest of the week. Take care, guys.